Tell us your mentality, man, about playing offensive tackle. I mean, you have the potential, just to be absolutely elite.
Damn, go ahead, share your thoughts on the thesis.
Yeah, baby. That's what we do. We are the Buckeyes. What up, Buckeye Nation? What up, Buckeye Nation? Welcome to the Buckeye Boys, where we talk college football with real fans. I'm Devin, excited to be here. Got a short show for you guys tonight, just a little bit of tidbits and some recruiting news. Before we get into that, if you guys could do me a favor, hit that like button, please. Hit the subscribe button as well. If you're listening on Spreaker or Apple Podcast, hit the like button. And also, super chats are available. Put them in there. They go to the Pay It Forward, and we'll get them answered tonight. And if you're not on the Scoop message board, head on over there. Posted a recruiting nugget. There's a lot of nuggets posted on there today about things going on, expectations for the season, recruiting stuff. So go over there and check that out. Let me bring on my good friend VB Coach here. What up, VB Coach? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, doing pretty good, man. Just living life. We were kind of talking before the show started about how, I'm used to doing shows like 5 days a week, but there's no spring football right now. Kind of all there is recruiting stuff. And that's even hard to do shows on because stuff changes so quickly. And you made a good point that, hey, man, normally about this time, if you got to talk about something going on with the football team, it's normally not good. So it's a good thing, that there's not a bunch of things to talk about in regards to, the team and the upcoming season and stuff. We could come up with stuff to talk about all day long, but you're just talking about the same thing. So luckily, no bad news, no bad news coming out of there. So that's good. But we do have some good news, man. I want to start off before I say the good news. I think we've talked about this before. I'm putting you on the spot here big time. I did not tell you I was going to do this. I want you to give me a breakdown of Tyler Bowen as the offensive line coach and his development and stuff just based off of what you saw last year. That's all you have to go on and be, let us know the variables that go into that. I know how hard that is. It's 1 year. You got to take into account play calling, all that stuff. Just give me before we talk about the offensive line commit and his recruiting. Let's talk about this real fast. Give me a little bit of a grade on him.
It's tough to grade him, and I'm lucky because he actually recruited a former player of mine. And so now I never met him, but through that player I knew about him. He's a great recruiter. He really is. When he was at Virginia Tech, he recruited my kid pretty hard. So development is weird because as we look at the O-line over the course of the year and as a whole, he took a kid who was a right guard and made him a left tackle, and that kid, was an all-league left tackle. So that's what you would call development. He took a kid who didn't get offered by Ohio State out of high school and went to Minnesota, and then in the portal came to Ohio State, and everybody was, and he didn't. It's not like he was a 2-year starter at Minnesota or anything. And he comes here and he starts, and they get to the playoffs with him. The whole situation at the right guard position, I don't understand. And, everybody they threw out there, I didn't understand necessarily. Hinsman at center winds up getting All-American. So I think he did well. I'd give him a B+. Okay. One thing about what he's going through is he's at Virginia Tech and he's used to one thing. He comes to Ohio State where everything changes, and he's got a new offensive coordinator that's never called plays before. And he gets that title of run game coordinator, but I still don't know what that means. You see these titles and I'm like,
I know, right?
Does Ryan Day say, hey, it's a run, let Bowen call it? Like, I don't know how that works. So So he deals with that. He goes through the whole season and everything. Then now he's got a new offensive coordinator and he's got to learn a new system. So as a coach, he is on his third system in less than 3 years. So that's tough. He is very fortunate, in my opinion, that right now Ohio is producing pretty quality offensive linemen. So in terms of recruiting, that helps out. The Ohio kids don't want to go far. Most linemen don't want to go far. So he's getting these Ohio kids. He got the kid from Pennsylvania who clearly is not going far from home. So that's just all real helpful. So you're going to have to give him 4 years to truly be able to tell. But I think definitely I'd give him a B+ so far.
When I think about this, I go back to the last example we have, and I go to Justin Fry, right? And we talk about him. And I mean, how long was he here for? 3 or 4 years? I shouldn't even ask that because I do not know. But I do know this. I do know that he would constantly get hounded for his recruiting, rightfully so. He did not have that down. It was a mess in Ohio State standards. There's really no arguing that. Whatever you think of Coach Fry, he was not – the recruiting thing was not for him. He did not do very good at it. But a lot of people consider him a very good offensive line coach. Won us a national title with all the injuries, and then goes off to the NFL. But the year before, it's so funny because the year before, everybody was trashing him for his recruiting and his development. I mean, that was the conversation. And all of a sudden, he goes out and wins a national title, and that just disappears. So I say that to say that it's just so fluid anymore, man. And there's a lot of people out there that would give Coach Bowen an F for development last year. And you bring up points with Carson Hinsman and Philip Daniels and Austin Sareveld that, quite frankly, it gets missed a lot. And it's so funny to me how fast things can change that, those people that give him Tyler Bowen an F this year, if we go win a national title this year, they're going to give him an A. And it's like, that's not really how that works. You know what I mean? He doesn't, you aren't truly an F and in 1 year go to an A. You know what I'm saying? Especially in development. That's not how that happens. So it's always, not near as bad as what you might think. You know what I mean? I've grown to learn that in the Ohio State realm. Until you truly go in, think about every detail, all the variables, watch all the film, watch all the players. You got to start with last year. How were they last year? How are they this year? If you don't do that, then it's like, where are you getting your opinion from that he is not good at developing?
Yeah.
And I say all that, yet I am in this kind of year where I am going to be paying attention to the offensive line this year, because it's not that I'm upset with Coach Bowen on a developmental standpoint, but I don't think you can truly grade somebody after 1 year. So this is his upcoming year. We're going to see, right? Here's where you're going to see more of him as a developmental coach than versus his 1 year. That's where I'm at here. So, if we back this thing up, you talk about recruiting. Coach Bowen came in. He came in last year, not even a full recruiting thing. He brought in 5-star Sam Greer, Max Riley, Mason Wilhelm, Landry Breed, all from the state of Ohio. Then he went out and got Tucker Smith. I would say, just based off the spring game, Sam Greer, Maxwell Riley, and Mason Wilhelm, they're all hits. I think they look like they're in a good spot, you know what I mean, and can potentially coach here one day, maybe play here one day as starters. And then you go into this year, and, a week ago, he had 4 commitments already. And Kellen Weimer, who is from Ohio, the number 30 player nationally, been on the show here. We all know him. Mason Wilt had him in the class. Brody, and then Jimmy Callis as well from Pennsylvania, the big old 6'7" road grader tackle. And then he just recently picked up another commitment from Davis Seaman out of the state of Ohio. He is ranked on 247 like the number 242nd player nationally, the number 15 interior offensive lineman, 6'4", 290 pounds. I will be playing his highlight tape here in the background for you to kind of break this thing down, man. Tell us your thoughts about this pickup, man, Davis Seaman.
Well, I'm lucky because I know who he's playing right there. That's against DeSales. He's playing for Bishop Watterson. They're two-time state champs. We talked about this with Weimer. He's a winner. He's coming from a winning culture. So this kid's got 2 state titles already, and he'll be going for a third his senior year. And I also am lucky that a good friend of mine's son played against these guys in the state semifinals. And he called me and asked me for some pointers because my friend's son's a great high school football player, but he's 5'11", 235. And he's like, I'm playing D tackle. I'm lining up across from this guy that's about 275 pounds, and he's really, really good. And so I pulled up this film and started looking at it. Actually, it was a different film than this one, but my response was, stay low, dude. Just stay low, because there isn't anything you can do. The tackle on the other side for him, I believe, ended up it was either Pitt or UK or something. That kid's 6'7", 300. So this team's loaded that you're looking at. As you watch him, one thing I noticed right away is when he gets in a stance, he's actually lower than anybody else on the offensive line. See how low he gets down? So even at his size, he bends really well. And from what I read, they're looking for him to play center, and that would make sense to me. Although his feet are tremendous, man. He moves really well for a kid his size. That play right there, he just showed me he's got advanced technique, because the D lineman came in with his hands up and he knocked him down, and the kid fell on his face.
Yeah.
So not everybody does that. I mean, it's not a huge thing, but it just tells me he knows what he's looking at. He knows what he's doing. And he's really good. He finishes his blocks. But the big thing as you watch him is he just moves so well that he can pull. He gets out to linebackers. He keeps his base when he does it. So when those guys go to the second level, so when they're going to linebackers or even maybe a safety, you don't want them standing up. You know, he doesn't do that. He still has bend and everything. So he's a heck of a lineman. And you were talking about those rankings, and I was looking at it before we even came on. And it's one of those things where I guarantee now all of a sudden these go up, because he's the 26th interior offensive lineman according to Rivals, and 376 nationally, and 13th in Ohio. And I'm kind of like, okay, you're going to have to show me all the other 20 some guards that are better than him.
Yeah.
And maybe they are, I don't know. But right now, Ohio is producing what I would call quality offensive linemen. They're not producing the elite ones right now, the 5 stars that are ranked in the top, 10, Paris Johnson kids who you just had to watch him for about 10 seconds. You're like, oh yeah, that guy's going to the NFL. Yeah. So that's one thing that is helping Bowen out is we're getting some quality offensive linemen. The kid from Virginia, I watched the film. I don't know who he's playing against, so it's hard for me to compare sometimes. So I just watch the kid. I don't watch what he's doing or who he's going against or anything. They're all developmental. Like I said, there's no Paris Johnson in this group. So they're kids that they're going to come in, they're going to get in the weight room. There's some dudes in front of them, in 2 years, 3 years, they're going to be competing for starting spots. So this kid is just like that. So.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, dude, this guy's been on Ohio State's radar for a long time now. I mean, there's been crystal balls put in for him to be a Buckeye for quite some time. He watched the NFL draft and decided to pull the trigger after that. But I'm going to be honest, when I watch his film, I watched his film a long time ago when he's been on the radar here. The first thing I notice is his feet, man. And to me, it's eerily similar to when I watch Kellen Weimer's film and I see his feet as well. I just feel like both those guys have very, very good feet for offensive linemen, for as big as what they are. But the Davis Seaman film, when I watch as well, you brought up his hands and stuff. There's several instances where I might not know what I'm looking at all the time, but I can tell, hey, dude, that looks like good technique. I've watched enough high school offensive line film to know, hey, that dude's just straight up overpowering people. Or, hey, no, dude, that dude's got good, good hands, good hand fight, good feet, good set, good, stance, all those things. And when you watch him, you can tell that he's got some good training. Whoever he's training with, he's got a good base. And like you said, I mean, that's four stars in this class already. One of them's, number 30. Sam Greer last year was, I think, number 33 nationally. Kellen Weimer's number 30, and the rest are 4 stars. And I think, who is it in this class, man? I think Mason Wilt, he's a top 500 player in the nation in the rankings. So if you're one to look at the rankings, I mean, dude, Tyler Bowen he's doing it the way if you've watched my show since I've started, I have always begged Coach Fry, dude, get some Ohio guys, get some Ohio offensive linemen in here. I mean, that's the first thing he did, dude. He cornered the market in Ohio last year in offensive line, going out and get Sam Greer and Max Riley. Missed a couple of them, but he got those 2 guys and then a couple other ones. And then this year, doing the same thing, man. I mean, we got 3 offensive linemen from the state of Ohio, and I don't even know if we're done yet. We might go out and grab another one. So
there's a tackle from Tri-Village. I'd have to, let me see if I can find his name. I want to say his last name.
6'7".
Yeah. And now Tri-Village.
No, you're talking about. There's a couple tackles. Khalil Johnson, he's one that the Buckeyes have been on. He's visited a couple times.
Khalil Johnson is like rumored to be a Buckeye, and I know. I'm like, wait a minute, we're going to take 8 Dominic Black. They're right. They're 9-10 on Rivals, and the difference is one plays at Cincinnati Moeller, a national powerhouse, and the other plays at Tri-Village, which is, I'm not joking when I say I don't know if he'll have 100 kids at graduation. Like, it is a small school. But he's let me see what his one thing I'll tell you is I look at the stars, I look at the rankings and everything. What I really evaluate how they compare to others is the offer list. Who is offering these guys? If I don't see a Notre Dame, Michigan State, Penn State offer to a kid that's in Ohio, that something's weird there. That shouldn't really be happening. If you see a kid from Pennsylvania and Pitt and Penn State don't want him, that's going to be weird. It's just the way it is. Now, I'm lucky that I did have a lot of interaction with Justin Fry. I did. And he's a terrific guy. He's a terrific offensive line coach. The same kid that Bowen recruited that I had, Fry recruited him. But Ohio State did not offer. So, we went up to Ohio State for spring practice a couple of years ago. He wanted my kid. Not only did he want him there for the spring practice, he wanted him there for the position meetings that happened before practice. So I want to say we left at like 5:30 in the morning, and we were up there at 7 a.m. at the Woody, and we were sitting in position meetings with all the guys that were on the team a couple years ago and stuff. And that was pretty interesting. They were watching film from the day before, going over stuff. And then turns out Fry's best man at his wedding was a kid that I coached years ago, another offensive lineman, because Fry played at Indiana. And I coached a kid that went to Indiana, and they were on the offensive line together, and they're best friends. They still talk to each other. So nice. I got to meet Fry's wife and kids. I can tell you, sometimes recruiting is just that. It's Justin Fry did everything that you can do. He really did. He didn't bring his wife and kids up to Ohio for a few months. So that dude lived away from his family and literally was at the Woody until about 10 o'clock every night making phone calls.
Yeah. And the thing with him is, I don't know those details, but because I didn't know, I would never put it on his effort. he just chose a strategy that I didn't agree with. And that was he didn't have many offers out there. His net was not casted very wide. It just wasn't. I mean, I broke down, I was the first person to break down all the offers he had made, compared those to past offensive line coaches, other offensive line coaches in the nation. Like, it took me hours. I broke it down and reported that information, and then it took fire and everybody else started reporting it. But he just didn't cast a wide net. You know what I'm saying? And Coach Bowen is the opposite. His net is casted extremely wide. Coach Fry, when he would miss on his guys, and the NIL changes that were occurring with him did not help his cause. That's not his fault. We don't know how much money he has to work with. So, yeah, I mean, I just disagreed with the strategy. But Coach Bowen, I mean, dude's got an A+ for me, and there's for recruiting. And there are still people that are, for some reason, not happy with this class. They want the high touted 5 stars and whatnot. And I'm like, bro, we got Sam Greer last year. We got Kellen Weimer this year. And then 4 other 4 stars. I mean, that's better than 1 5-star and 4 unranked kids all day long. Would you rather have 1 5-star and 4 unranked kids, or 5 4-stars? Mine's the 5 4-stars all day long, every day of the week. It just is for me. But it's a matter of opinion there. But the development part of Tyler's thing, I don't know. I sit back and I got to laugh sometimes, because there's a lot of people diving into this subject very, very deeply, and they're looking at 2 games. They're looking at the Indiana game and the Miami game. And it's like, never once when they're diving into it, calling them super bad, they don't talk about the injuries, the fact that we wasn't even playing our starting offensive line. Like, there's a lot of things that don't get talked about when that discussion arises. The Brian Hartline situation with what was going on there, and Ryan Day coming in and calling plays. And I'm not trying to, have his back and say people were wrong, that he's a good developer. I'm just saying, I don't think there's enough information there yet to go one way or the other. Right. I just don't. I don't see how there possibly could be. Now, you might have an idea. Like, if you tell me, hey, I think he might not be that good of a developer, I'll be like, okay. I mean, I get maybe, but we got to wait and see. You know what I'm saying? So the recruiting's there. I believe we got the players now. So this upcoming season will tell us a lot. You're bringing in a very veteran offensive line that has played a lot of football. So as long as that's paired with a good coach, and VB coach, how much money you want to bet that there'll still be a section of Tyler Bowen haters out there that if there is success this year, guess who's going to get the credit? Arthur Smith. Yes. is going to get the credit. Coach Bowen.
Arthur Smith is set up for either huge success or huge failure. And the first, I don't know how that's going to go, obviously, but he's going to be either the ghost, I don't know. I don't. That's going to be, like you said, he's going to get all the credit in the world, or he's going to get all the blame in the world. Somebody posted an awesome quote by Jim Tressel when he took the job at Ohio State, and he basically said, I understand Ohio State fans. I want them to be patient, but I also realize if we lose, they're going to, be critical of us. And then he said, and if we win, they're going to be critical of us. So, we've all had seen the stuff after a game where, they won 45-7 and everybody's like, oh my God, we were terrible. And I'm like, we won 45-7. Do you know how hard that is to do at the Division I level? And it's going to definitely be an interesting year. There's so much unknown on this team right now. So,
yep, there is, man. And like I said, plenty of time to dive into all that stuff. We broke down all the spring game and all that. Right now, just mainly recruiting stuff coming out for the first time. A lot of the coaches are on the road, man. So I've had a couple phone calls over the past couple days. Coach Larry's on the road, went and visited Marcus Fakatu, Kasai Curry, Justin Weeks, and a couple other guys. So just to dive into that, man, I have not been shy about my excitement in this defensive line recruiting class for the 2027 thing. Another coach that has, gotten some, negative things said about his recruiting, which is, I don't know, confusing to me as well. But either way, we got DJ Jacobs committed. I'm on the bandwagon that I think he stays firmly committed to the Buckeyes. I think he ends up a Buckeye. I feel like I'm the minority there. A lot of people don't think so. One player in particular is visiting, Justin Weeks, defensive end out of Georgia. The conversation I had is, wouldn't be surprised if this kid ends up in the class. He is Larry has put a lot of time into him. He's came down and visited a couple times as well. And you can see when these coaches, who do they go visit first? You know what I'm saying? They haven't been out on visits for a long time. Where do they go? That's going to tell you, at least in my opinion, the targets that they want the most. Another visit he made was Marcus Facato. And I came on here, I don't know, a while ago. I had some information on Marcus and Kasai about the Buckeyes leading there. Shortly after that video, Kasai came out and said the Buckeyes are number one. And here just recently, Marcus just came out and said the Buckeyes are number one. So it looks like people were catching up there a little bit since the video I did and kind of reported that. I think the momentum with Marcus has gone up a lot. A lot of people see him as a defensive tackle. He does not want to just play defensive tackle. He wants to play defensive end as well. Some schools are pigeonholing him into the defensive tackle realm. Ohio State is not one of those guys. So, man, I call it my Buckeye Boys boom. I got my boys boom in for Marcus to be a Buckeye, man. And he's like a number one, number two defensive tackle in the nation. Going out and seeing Kasai as well, who's also a dog, a top 5 defensive tackle in the nation. To me, I wrote this on the message board as well. To me, I think like you got Kasai and then you got Carlos May, a top 100 defensive tackle out of Alabama. I think either one of those guys could end up in this class. I think Larry might be pushing for Carlos a little harder. Kasai did call the Buckeyes his number one school, but every visit prior to that, he called his number one school directly after the visit as well. So we know how recruiting is. Things can change. So, you know, I love the direction that defensive tackle recruiting is going and the defensive end recruiting as well. Some names to keep an eye on, obviously Justin Weeks. Then you got Wyatt Smith from St. Thomas Aquinas, who's just recently visited, kind of just now getting into the picture. Chris Whitehead is another one, quieter recruit the Buckeyes are in on. So keep an eye there. Couple other names real quick. James Laurinaitis, AJ Randall. If you watch my channel, y'all know about AJ, linebacker from North Carolina. He's been on the show. Great kid. If I got to choose which linebacker I wanted in this class with Quentin Cypher, my number one want would personally be AJ Randall. I think he's one of the most athletic linebackers in this class. The conversation I'd had, and I believe people inside the Woody expect him to be a Buckeye. They expect him in this class, and this would be a huge pickup. On the tight end front, Sean Curry's picking up some steam a little bit there as well, based off conversations I've had. And there's a whole lot more information out there about a lot more visits, but I'm only reporting on the conversations I have about people, and that's it for me. So there'll be a lot more changes. Don't forget, the Buckeyes recruiting strategy, if we come in right before the summer and the class isn't filled up, nobody freak out, man. We know that the Buckeyes want to see senior film. Right after those senior film evals, they turn up the heat big time. You know, they flipped the number one corner after senior film last year. They had a lot of flips last year. I expect the same thing this year. We'll have a few more additions here coming up, but I expect them to pick the heat up quite a bit, man. And another, just a little nugget, man, you might have some movement in this quarterback class, man, and quarterback recruiting. Champ Mons is about to commit. I've gotten mixed messages. I've been told he's a Buckeye. I've been told he's going to Notre Dame. We got Brady Edmonds in this class. What does that mean? I love Brady. I want Brady to be a Buckeye. He's been in the past 3 years, I haven't seen anybody be more pro Buckeye as a recruit than Brady has. So I want him to be in this class. They'll do senior film evals, and we'll go from there. VB coach, I know I said a handful of information there, but maybe start with defensive line, man, and kind of talk about, some of the recruiting things you heard there. And man, how hard is it to kind of gauge, defensive linemen as high school recruits as well? You know what I mean? I've always been curious about that.
Well, I think you made a great point in when spring ball was over with and they went out on the road, who did they go see first? I think that's a huge thing. Now, the flip side of that is when you said guys were saying, okay, Ohio State leads. 5 years ago, that meant something to me. Now what it means is we're in NIL and they're saying Ohio State's got the best offer. Like that's I'm letting everybody know Ohio State's got the best offer. Who's going to beat them? That's the way I take it when they say that stuff now. Because here in the last year or two, we've seen guys who were the number one players in the nation at their position. And before spring ball, they were, all about Ohio State. And then after spring ball, they're not even in the top 5 or something. So,
real fast, the thing that really set that into because I just didn't want to believe that football was going that way, but the recruitment that really, really opened my eyes to that, because I had some pretty good inside sourcing on this, is when David Sanders came back to visit us for the last time. And I realized it was literally just to try to get more money out of Tennessee. That's when I was like, oh, Brang, dude, these dudes are really doing it, bro. They're really doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
and I tell everybody, you and I would do the exact same thing. Like if you had 2 companies fighting over you to hire you, and you went and visited one of them, and you come out and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm telling you, company A's in the lead, man. That you're telling company B they better kick up the offer. So yeah, that's just what you do. So I don't fault any kid for doing it, because we're in the level of life-changing money. I don't know if it's generational money yet, but it's life-changing. If somebody handed me $1 or $2 million when I was a senior in high school, that would change my life, for a very long time. So I'm sure we're going to have the nightmare stories of kids screwing this up, here in about 5 or 6 years, and you find out some kid's broke and living on the street, and, and how that's going and stuff. So, but yeah, in terms of the defensive linemen, one thing is we were talking about the O-line, and Ohio was producing these kids. They are not producing the defensive linemen. Ohio has not been spitting out top-level kids here lately. So Larry Johnson does a fantastic job of recruiting all the way across the country. He'll go down south. He'll go to Pennsylvania. He'll go to West Virginia, East Coast. He's gone to the West Coast and got guys. And as someone who just flew this weekend, I'm like, God, he must fly first class, because I can't imagine being his age and flying around, just coach or whatever. So, you look at the guys that he's brought in. One other thing I wanted to give Fry a little bit credit for, but I want to give Larry Johnson a lot of credit for, is he's been a finalist, just missed on some really fantastic defensive linemen. We got to give him some credit. Like, you're not going to get them all. You're just not. So the fact that you're getting in the final 5 or the final 3 for players, that shows they're doing their work and everything. So, Larry seems to have a type here lately, and it's kind of switched. He used to set defensive tackles, guys who clearly were going to play on the inside, and then defensive ends. They were clearly going to play defensive end. But now that Patricia has come in, that seems to kind of change. And he's now recruiting guys that I consider to be nose guards. The Perez kid is a nose guard. We're never going to say, hey, he might line up a defensive end. That's never going to happen. But we're seeing these guys line up, defensive ends line up as a 3-tech D tackle. We're seeing guys that were high school defensive ends become, like Houston, become defensive tackles. So he's kind of changed his philosophy, and I think Patricia is allowing him to do that. He's just saying, go out and get the best D lineman. We'll figure it out from there. We'll line them up, and make 100%. This work. And I think that helps Larry out. I think Larry can go in and say, but an example would be Jim Knowles would go in and tell a kid, here's my defense, and so here's how I see you fitting into that. The kid at Winton Woods, who I loved, that didn't work for him. He did not feel like he fit into the OSU defensive scheme, and he picked Alabama. But now I think Larry Johnson goes in and says, hey, whatever, dude, if you're good enough, you're going to play. Maybe you're a stand-up defensive end. Maybe you're inside a D tackle. Maybe you're a nose guard, whatever. If you're good enough, we're going to get you on the field. And I think that's a huge selling point.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, man. It's been a conversation for quite some time. People trying to figure out the way that he recruits, the body types. And when we saw all those, kids leave last year in the portal, everybody wanted to talk about it was because of their size and this and that. And I think you hit the nail on the head with, Matt Patricia just operates, just go get the best player and we'll make a place for him. We'll make him fit. I think Matt Patricia is that good at scheming things up. Yeah. And the key thing to me there is NFL. Because then you look at this year, you look at the past couple of years on offense, even at the offensive line position. Dude, how many swing guys are we recruiting right now? How many 6'5" guards are we recruiting right now? A lot, man. And I think you see this shift on offense in NFL with all these tight ends this draft and what Sean McVay's doing there. And it's all about, hey, man, can you run the ball with 11 personnel and can you pass it with 13 personnel? It's like keeping those guys out there. That's the NFL, and it always trickles down in the college football. I think it's kind of going that way, man. I think it's even going that way on defense. I mean, Matt Patricia showed it last year with Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, moving them down the edge sometimes. And like you said, moving Kenyatta and Caden Curry, inside and all those things. Like you just got players moving everywhere. And I think that's where you're at now. Just versatility is probably the number one thing right now. So it's more, hey, if the guy can play football, then that's what we want. We're not going out and trying to get players to fit our scheme. We're trying to go out and get the players and fit our scheme to them mentality on both sides of the ball now. And I even think that's true with Arthur Smith, man. I really, really do. So I think, if Arthur sticks around and you start seeing some of these classes change and some of the transfer portal things, and you start wondering, and what are we doing? Where's he going to fit in? We got Legend Bay. What the heck? What's he going to do? Is he a running back? Is he a wide receiver? Is he a quarterback? What the heck is he, dude? You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, the first thing we heard is how much Arthur Smith loves Legend Bay. I wonder why. Because you never know. You can have him do so many different things. So, I personally love it. And, I think, you're slowly going to see, you remember when college football switched to the air raid, fast type of thing, all the passing. Now I think there's about to be another shift in this thing now with all these tight ends and different things. And because of that, if offenses are going to shift, guess what has to shift? Defenses, man. They have to be just as versatile as these offenses. You're going to find yourself in some issues out there on the field. So I love it, man. These Buckeyes, they're going to continue to recruit well, man. They're never going to pay the most NIL. Just not going to happen. I agree with that philosophy wholeheartedly. I can't tell you the amount of people that came out last year and the beginning of this year and just said, I'm sick of Ohio State not just paying top dollar for certain guys. And it made me cringe when I hear people say that. It still does because dude, look what Ohio State just did in the draft. They know what they're doing. Let them do their thing. We don't need to come in here and act like they need to change something. Are you kidding me? Really? Yes. Because we don't win a national title one year, but we're setting draft records left and right. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know. I don't agree with that. I say keep doing what you're doing, Ohio State, on the recruiting front. I think you're doing great.
I just had this conversation yesterday with a good friend who knows what he's talking about. And Ohio State's philosophy is pay your players who are proven while trying to get the best recruits that you can. And I think that works. That's why we see a Jack Sawyer still hanging around. That's why Kenyatta Jackson is still there, type of thing. But we see these schools that go out and pay for these 5-star recruits. And, we talked about this on a previous show. How do you feel if you are, let's say you're a backup offensive lineman and you're not really getting squat in NIL. You're third string after this past season. You were second string during spring ball. And then across from you is some high school kid in the locker room, and he's getting $1.4 million.
Yeah,
but he ain't any further ahead on the depth chart than you are. So how does that work in the locker room? I don't know. Where Ohio State chooses for the most part to not play the game that way. It's not that they're not paying big time recruits. They are, but they're investing in the players that they have. And those guys have seen are coming back. We talk about the draft. Jackson could have easily have gone into the draft. One of the offensive linemen could have easily have left early. I've seen guys leave that weren't as good as them. So,
well, I think it's a question of, are you playing to be the best, or are you playing to get paid the most?
Yes.
Those are not the same things. You know what I'm saying? Leaving early for the draft, would be to get paid the most. Well, if you want to last a long time in the NFL and be the best, right, then get that extra year development. The same with the high school kids, man. I think that's kind of that question there. It just is. And I'm not saying that you can't have both. In some very rare cases you can, but it's just like, you're always told by your parents, go out and do something that you love, man. You know what I mean? So, if you're at your job, like strictly for the money, you're just not going to put a type of passion into it that you would if you actually love what you're doing. There's no way around that. It's just that we're humans, and there's so many other things you could dive into there. And it's not everybody's case, but when you enter that in and the first thing on your mind is money, then what happens when times get a little bit rough? You know what I mean? What's going to happen? What happens if somebody comes and offers you more money? What are you going to do then? You know what I mean? Like if that is your ultimate decision factor, like that's number one on your list. If it's number 2 or 3, then you got some other things in front of it. But I don't know. My point is that I've always loved the way Ohio State recruits. I still love it. They lose Luke Wafel. They lose players from time to time, but it tends to work itself out every single time, man. It just does. Then you get players like Kari Wilder. You know what I mean? And we'll see. Pay attention. We'll see who goes higher in the draft, Kari Wilder or Luke Wafel. I'm curious. We're going to watch that. Keep an eye on that, guys. Remember I said that. I'm very curious. And Luke Wafel is a baller, bro. He is. He's very, very good. But, we've talked about that over and over again. But, all right, that's going to do it for tonight. I'll keep giving you guys some updates. I got some big shows coming up. Just working on scheduling. Got Davis Seaman, the new offensive line commit. He's going to be coming on. Got a show that I'm thrilled for. Chris Boyd's going to be coming back on. I'm going to try to get VB Coach involved in that one. We're going to talk about Brock Boyd's recruitment, and in football in general. We're going to dive into the topic we just ended the show on, most likely. And then, got a trainer coming on, still working out that. But got some guests coming on. Probably won't be going 4 or 5 days a week unless I have something to talk about. If I do, then I'll be coming on here. But VB Coach, any final words for the listeners tonight?
What we said there at the beginning. Any news that you're getting right now is probably not good news. So be happy that there is no news, because Texas Tech right now, they are not happy because their quarterback is in gambling rehab and stuff. That's the main story this week in college football is Sorsby is in, gambling rehab. And that one hits a little bit home for me because that kid was at Cincinnati this past season playing with a kid that I coached with. I went down and watched the UC football game this year. And so I watched Sorsby play. He's an outstanding quarterback. He commanded, rumors are he was getting $4 million to go to Texas Tech. So now, again, we don't know how this NIL thing really works. Does he still get the $4 million? What if the NCAA rules him ineligible and says, no, you gambled on college sports. You're ineligible. You can't play.
They're in Texas. They'll just take it to the local judge. He'll play. He's playing.
Probably.
The NCAA cannot touch them. They can't do anything to them.
Well, all the other stuff, but I'm like, this is gambling. This is
I know.
But again, you drive 10 minutes south of my house and there's a huge casino there with a and they ripped out the side of the casino to slap the sports betting thing into it. They completely changed the parking lot once you could bet on sports here in Ohio. And, you know, every time we turn on a game or we get online, you know, DraftKings is a freaking advertisement on there and stuff. So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I got students in the 5th and 6th grade that know what DraftKings is. So,
I know. It's getting wild, but
right. So I'm not shocked that we have a kid like Sorsby that's got problems with gambling.
Oh, he is the only one at all. No. Not even close, bro. They all do not get caught. It's impossible to catch all. I mean, ain't no way. You know, there's no way. But anyway.
Yep, I've seen it.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys for watching tonight. We'll keep you guys updated on things that we hear. Don't forget, hit that like button on your way out. Hit the subscribe button as well. Shoot a comment under the video when it goes not live here. We appreciate that. Thank you guys for all your support. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Go Buckeyes. OH.
IO.